Hello, everyone. We traveled virtually to Denver, Colorado, and we have lovely Amy. And before me going through those questions, I want Amy to have an introduction.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. And yeah, it's cold in Denver, Colorado today. I am Amy E. Moore. I'm a mom of two and the two littles. So I have a 9-year-old and a 10-year-old. And I have a background I have a degree in education and then went into sales, and my background is varied as far as my experience professionally. But I would say it's been my true focus to be a mom to my two kids for the past many years.
That's so lovely. That's great to hear about you. And what about the tea business? What do you have done, Amy? Tell us.
Well, interestingly enough, a few years back, I was homeschooling my kids, and we had the opportunity to travel overseas, primarily in Europe, a number of times. And one of those trips brought me to Iceland. And I was with my kids, and the three of us were, just shopping around, and we found two of the cutest boxes I've ever seen, and you can see them right here.
Wow.
We found green tea, the Berkey and the Blothberg, and I ended up buying as many as I could and put them in my carry-on and then took them home, and the taste of the tea was even better than the box. And so on the side, I have a podcast, and I ended up contacting the owner of Teko Tea, and I said, hey, would you be interested in sponsoring our podcast? And turns out that the owner of Teko is, she's a female founder and does a lot in Iceland with women-owned businesses. And she ended up being more than happy to support our podcast. So she sent a bunch of boxes, and then I was looking for work, and I said, hey, how about if I distribute your tea in the US? And she said, yeah, let's do it. So it's been a little bit over a year, and I am the US distributor of Teko Tea. And so, yeah, it is. It's honestly, it's great. I have, it's kind of opened my world, my tea world, that's for sure. And I really love the founder of Teko and what she stands for, and the quality of product and her design, and just all of it is fantastic. And yeah, the tea is incredible, and all the herbs are Icelandic herbs that are wild picked, and they're more unique, I think. I don't know that I've ever come across some of these herbs in a tea before. Like, for example, there's one black tea that is blended with Icelandic moss. And, they're very, many of them are intriguing flavors, some more floral, like the wild thyme, but then the Icelandic moss, is much more earthy. And same with the Berkey here, which is a birch leaf from the birch trees. And yeah, so it's a delightful tea, and I hope everyone will try it.
That's great. So that trip changed your life somehow. It had a big impact in your life.
You're exactly right, in more ways than just the tea. So on a very personal note, my that trip, I was just with my kids and me, and we were exploring Iceland, and it was incredible. And I'll tell you a little funny story about that trip. My kids and I were pretty young at the time, and we were coming back from the the hot springs, the famous hot spring. And I had rented this little Mazda 3 car, and there was all this road construction on that road way out to the Blue Lagoon. And, it's a huge sky in Iceland, and it was pitch black. And we were driving back to Reykjavik, and I hit a pothole. And so I ended up with a flat tire on this car. And it was just my kids and I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't changed a flat tire in a long time. Yes, what do I do? And it just so happened that I bought, a Wi-Fi booster from this car rental place, which I have never done in my life. So it was like some kind of,
so lucky.
Yeah. I was lucky, so lucky. So I Googled how to change a tire on a Mazda 3 and
YouTube.
Yes, exactly. And so thankfully I found all the parts, and I was cranking the, car jack thing. And I really my kids and they would hold my iPhone because we were using my flashlight, and they would hold it, and it was raining out and it was cold, and they would take turns. So they would go warm up in the back seat, then they would come hold the flashlight, and back and forth, back and forth. Well, I finally got the spare tire on the car. And by this time, my kids had given up. They were in tears in the back seat. And I was holding the iPhone in my mouth, trying to get the flashlight on the thing. And all of a sudden I hear someone behind me, and turns out it's an Icelandic police officer.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I swore, and because he scared me so much. And then he ended up helping with the final tightening of the
final step, but you did the most important part.
I did. And then, he kind of let us go, and then my kids and I were off. But it was this moment of, I can do this. And it turns out, I ended up getting a divorce shortly after. And so here I am now as a single mom with my kids. And there is something so much deeper about that trip than just finding the tea to distribute. It was also this very empowering, trip of knowing that, my kids and I are going to be just fine on our own, and we are capable. And then, the tea and all of that, and meeting the founder, has just been like an added bonus. So
that's great. I mean, it's a great way to share your experience, since at the end of the day, we need to believe in ourselves, and then know our capabilities, and then just do it. Yes. The way you guys did it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And regarding the tea that you mentioned, Amy, what sort of mixture you guys have? Is it more, as you said, tea and herbal, for example, black tea and something mixed, green tea, white tea? Can you elaborate more on the products a little bit? I mean, just for audiences or whoever watching this video later? Yes,
absolutely. So we have tea. I'm just going to hold this up to the screen. I don't know if this helps, but we have black tea blends and green tea blends. And so we don't have any white tea. And the black tea, sorry about that. Did I go dim for a minute?
No, all good.
Okay. So the black tea blends are kind of like a sister to the birch leaf. So the Berkey tea comes in both green and black. And then the Blothberg comes in green and black. And so the Blothberg is a wild thyme. It has a beautiful pink flower. And so that's blended with black tea, green tea. And then the kind of standalone black tea is the Flagras. And that is the Icelandic moss. And that's unique for so many reasons. It's packed with vitamin C, and Icelandic moss, there's all kinds of health benefits that people claim, that are great. But for us, that only comes in the black tea. And then the green tea, there's two that are standalone green teas, and that is a meadow sweet with green tea, and then also a sweet Sicily. So both of those are green tea blends.
That's great. And especially that's the point that you mentioned regarding the vitamin C, which is great. And it's an online business. Am I right, Amy? Not a shop, physical shop.
That's right. I have considered, partnering more like can I find a business to get some of the product in their stores? So I'm working that angle, but right now it's just been so fun to do all online, all B2C. So it's all, I'm just going direct to consumer, and my background is more B2B sales. And so this is a new endeavor, but so far so good. I've been able to attend the World Tea Expo virtually, and meet different people and have these other interviews. And so for whatever reason, I have a lot of consumers buying in Virginia, and I don't know why, but I don't know if it's just like word of mouth or what's happening over there, but I have to look at my metrics, I guess.
That's great. And then based on what you're telling me on your tea experience, have you got anything else to share with us? Tea related, herbal related, anything you have done in the last, few years?
Well, my tea journey really starts when I was quite young. Even as a kid, I loved drinking tea. And, back then it was much more tea bags and, another Colorado company, Celestial Seasonings, I loved some of those. And then when I was studying in my undergrad, I studied in China, and I really gained a new appreciation, I think, for loose leaf tea and true, just jasmine green tea. I drank, every day, and tried to bring home as much as I could. And really, I think that whole experience for me, I was in China studying the language and culture, and that was back in 1997. So it was a while ago, but it really did provide me a whole new appreciation, not only of loose leaf tea and, just tea in general, but just the culture of tea and sharing tea with people. And so that was really great. And then I kind of, just went off on my own personal exploration of teas, always trying new ones and really finding the benefit, of, I lived in Chicago for a little while, and there's a great tea shop in Chicago where I was able to try a number of different teas and different ways of preparing teas as well. And so I would frequent that shop as much as possible. And then, and now I just really enjoy the lifestyle. So I have a business that my whole intention is really to bring wellness and comfort and health to the home. And so, so I sell air purifiers. I sell an alkaline water machine. So it's like a, kind of super air water purifier. And then I work a lot on just general decluttering, organization, and things like that. And the tea is really just a huge complement to the vibe and the energy that I want to create or help people create in their own home.
That's great. And if you want to touch on the people's culture, relating to tea, how you see this in your area or generally in US, especially comparing to coffee, of course, if you want to touch.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The truth is, so I mentioned my podcast a little bit ago, and the whole podcast was founded on this coffee meeting that I have with my friends. And coffee is such a dominant beverage and culture, I feel like, in the US. And so I think tea has its competition cut out for itself. However, I've heard, and I know like the millennials and some of the younger people are really helping to boost the tea culture in the US. And I find that there's so much beauty in the how tea really brings the world together. Even in my experience, like the Icelandic herbs are blended with premium teas that are produced in that it's a company out of Germany, and then my experience in China, and it's just this whole, and here you are in Australia, and
We're talking to each other.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that, and I have a lot of hope in that. Like, I know there's a lot with coffee and kind of, bringing these small farms, kind of to the forefront of different coffee producers, but which is terrific. I just feel like with tea, it's the fabric is already there. So it's like, how do we just kind of bring us all together even more and bring the world tea culture together, and it's maybe grown in one place, blended in another with other herbs from somewhere else, and then distributed. And so I just love being part of it. And I know even in Colorado specifically, the tea culture is pretty strong. Like, did you attend the World Tea Expo? Were you on that?
No, unfortunately not. I've attended a few in Australia.
Yeah.
But not the World Expo, no. Hopefully this year.
Yeah, and the expo, the actual conference is going to be in Denver this year.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys can do it. I mean, physical. I don't know. It's going to be virtual again. I don't know. Depends on the virus situation.
Exactly. And they were saying, so last summer obviously it was canceled, and it's been rescheduled now. And they're saying it is supposed to be in person in Denver, but we'll see.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's exciting, because I think, it only kind of says more about, I don't have numbers or anything, but it says more about the growing tea culture in Colorado, and hopefully then in the US as a whole.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. You mentioned some sort of course, I can call it a funny story, but at the end of the day, it was a life learning experience as well for you and the kids. What about tea? Have you got anything to share with us? Whether I can call it a funny story or anything like that in the last few years?
Well, I just think in general, I feel kind of like an odd duck in the tea industry. I have not gone to your traditional tea classes, or the like formality of tea. I feel like there's such
class.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, that's kind of the fun of it for me. I just kind of being this outsider who's jumped in to this industry, and really connecting on so many other aspects of the industry and of our particular product, outside of tea. But I love it. And I think for me that it just adds so much more fun. And I know, I have so much to learn about the industry as a whole, and just brewing tea even, and all of that I have my own work cut out for me. But yeah, I just also feel like I would love for people, I feel like coffee doesn't necessarily have that formality. Like the coffee industry, it's almost like it's trying to become more what's the right word? More exclusive or special, or these specialty things. And tea kind of has that opposite. Like it was so formal, it was so a little bougie, and now it's trying to like become more more like what's the right word I'm trying to look for?
More popular? Or
just more tangible, for anybody. Like anybody can go and you can drink a cup of loose leaf tea. You don't have to be, sipping with your pinky up or something, and so I feel like I'm kind of coming in, not, as where the industry hopefully will take us. you know, where it's just anybody can drink tea.
Yeah, that's great. I'm thinking, I don't have, I mean, based on what we discussed so far, and you shared those experiences, which was great for me and hopefully for those that watching this video later on. Top of my head, my mind, I don't have anything else to ask. Do you want to add anything else, Amy?
I don't think
Anything
so.
you missed to say?
I don't think so. I think that you know, we would love to just, the mission of Teko is to bring Icelandic tea blends to the world. And I think I think that for us, you know, if we can bring Teko to Australia, however that is, you know, we would love to have anybody taste it and just really help promote our mission. So that's really all.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much, Amy, for your time. I enjoyed the chat a lot, and thanks for letting us know what's happening, what was happening in your life, how you started this, and also about this beautiful tea and herbal. So hopefully there will be a chance to attend that World Expo, as you said, and hopefully there will be a chance to see you in Australia.
Yes. Oh, yes, I agree. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Stay safe, take care, and we will be in touch, okay?
Sounds great. Thank you.
Take care, Amy. Bye-bye.